Oh,
And I,
wow. Hey, it's going live. So, my name is Neil Williams, and my partner is Delphine
um,
Lova. And she and I have been accountability partners for over 5 years. Yeah. And
yeah,
accountability for us just means we help each other stick to our goals. We really just we make our goals, we talk about our goals, and then we help each other through the difficulties that happen every time you set a goal and try and accomplish it. I mean, Delphine would has that been your experience at least?
yes, step-by-step process, saying how we're doing, and if not, we start over again. But we never quit. And I think that's so important, and just sharing what we go through, because sometimes we think we're alone, that it's just happening to yeah, that we're alone on the journey, when actually no, and it's totally normal, and you doubt and say, okay, what am I going to do now? And you share and you progress.
Yep. And that's one of the things that I wanted to talk about today was this whole idea of you can set a goal, put it out there in the future, and no and it'll take place exactly when you say it's going to happen. Um, I don't think that happens very often, do you?
No, I think that we stumble across many obstacles, but along the way, we realize that it's not really an obstacle. It was just something to help you go further and sometimes
Mm.
readjust your road, your path, because we think we want something, and there's a whole part about the ego, or the impact that the external world, society, family, everybody can have on you. You think you want something, but actually, is it really aligned with your soul? Do you know yourself enough so that your desire is fulfilled? And those bumps, like Natalie Bouchard says, help you readjust to your true soul's trajectory. Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
think.
Well, so one of my mentors, Christy Marie, she would always say, as soon as you set a goal out in the future, your soul says, really? Really? You have a goal? You want me to help you? Okay, well, here's a shopping list of things you need to deal with. You're going to listen to me? Oh my goodness. I'm going to bring up all the trash and just throw it right in your path so that you can finally deal with all of this stuff. So that when you get that goal, you'll actually be able to keep it and enjoy it. I've the soul has given you the desire to have this goal so that it can help you clear out some of your other stuff.
It's so accurate, because we don't realize that the version of ourselves that we are now, for example, in the now, well, it might not be the version that is able to welcome, embrace our
Mhm.
truest desires, and it can be, and we cannot really imagine, because we're not yet there, and but it's for our own good. But I think that's one of the biggest challenges I could identify on the way to that. How does Abraham Hicks say, the
The best
the
version of
vortex?
you. The
Yes, the
vortex, yes.
vortex, the new
Yeah.
vortex. And yes, it's accepting, and it's sometimes saying, oh, maybe it's just a protection, maybe there is a bigger trajectory for you. But this is really hard for the human part of us, and for that ego we have. And yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. There are so many challenges. That's why um I really I really kind of struggle with by November 15th, I am going to win the lottery or I am going to start a business. Now, or some big thing that is completely outside of my control. One of my favorite episodes of Abraham Hicks was this guy wrote a letter and then sat in positive, high-flying feelings. And he studied the letter. He thought about the letter. He thought about, okay, how can I make my goals, my desires work? But he didn't try and force it and say, oh, by Thursday, January 23rd, I am going to have in my possession blah, de, blah, de, blah, de, blah. And because I'll be honest, I have written the date so many times, and then I get to the date and it hasn't come, and my high flying vibrations plummet.
Whoa. But also, it's so true because, yeah, when you put a date, it helps you have a better intention. It will help you take action. But it's true that we don't really have a date on our souls. How is it? I don't know. And it's all about the journey. It's not so much about the goal, but we need time. And it's true that we are in a world, we're like in this 3D reality, call it whatever you want. And it works with numbers, days, years,
Yeah.
and it helps us, be just being. And yeah, so time, yeah, it's of the essence.
So one of the things, and I can't remember which author posits this. I believe it's Napoleon Hill, and Bob Proctor was a big fan of Napoleon Hill. But it's this idea that you hold tightly to the goal. My goal is to have X, to do X, to be X. I want to own a new home, let's say. And then you've got the plan that goes along to support this goal. And what they said is hold tight to the plan. Or no, hold tight to the goal. Sorry, I misspoke. Hold tight to the goal. Set up a plan, but don't hold so tightly to it because your soul comes along and wants to teach you something. God comes in and has a better plan. Rejection is God's protection. You're not okay. We don't want you to have that right yet because there's something better down the road. That type of thing. Um, you're supposed to get really clear on what you want, but you're supposed to let the universe take care of the how you get it. You're supposed to feel that you have it, but be kind of, but man makes a plan without God, and God laughs. And that's an important one. That's a Jewish saying. Man plans, God laughs. I think that's kind of harsh. That's putting God in a really negative light. In my opinion, the better version is God or man makes a plan without God's involvement, and then God has the right to laugh.
And at the same time, everything is um, created with that energy. It's even if man think, if man thinks, if we talk about humanity, that they create something, you are part of, people say the source is in you too. So you're always in a way creating with this, but it's um, more or less present. And actually, you used a very interesting word, which was to feel. You have to feel your way to the your goal, what you think you want. And what's gonna happen is that, I'm sorry, but in this world, are we still able to feel as much as we can? Because I think from the start, we are raised to not truly pay attention to how we feel, because it's, you have to listen, have to do things, and you don't have time to feel, what's inside of you. And so maybe what's happening on your journey that you feel so uncomfortable about, it's to open you up and let you feel what's inside. Because once you're connected to all those feelings, it's so easier to just go where you want to go. No?
Yeah. I've heard it called the global soul positioning. It's, follow your heart. As Bashar says, do what excites you, and you'll always be on the right path. And that's why I think schedules can cause so much anxiety, because you're working towards this date, which is totally 3D. Time is a farce. It is a joke. It doesn't exist. But in this world, we're limiting ourselves chronologically, economically, in
Well,
every way to have
we
this
made it.
experience.
We made it a reality because we wanted to experience that. And but like our world exists, but we know it's only exists because we wanted it to exist. And so we're saying, okay, we're gonna play that game, we're gonna play with that illusion. And but the more I think that we um progress, advance, humanity, in terms of humanity and progress, well, the more we open up and the more we realize, oh, time is not actually what we think it is. And when, even if you don't know about this, people will tell you, oh, it feels like time flies. We don't know anymore what day are we, what time is it, or did I do that yesterday or not? And you forget, and oh, I thought I had already. It's everything is like mingling, merging. Have you experienced that too recently?
Oh, well, Einstein says that time is much more malleable than we realize. We are absolutely the creators of our world. And so time compresses and expands depending on what we're doing. We determine how long it takes to do something. You've heard the saying, time flies when you're having fun. And it takes forever when you're waiting in a doctor's office.
So true. And yeah, you wanted to talk about time because I think you have a little story that made you think about time. Do you want to elaborate
Oh
on
yeah,
that?
yeah. So my so when I was young, there was this aunt who lived near me, and I became attached to her. And from what I understand and what I remember, she was a goddess among women. She was the most important person that I can remember. And she moved away when I was either 2 or 3 years old. And I always held these great memories of her. Well, through the years, I grew up, things changed, came to realize that we're all human. But she recently passed away. Well, she had the audacity to do that in a different state, which is several hundred miles away. And so my uncles, my mother, are all trying to organize a funeral. So they're talking to the funeral home, they're talking to the church, they're talking to the spiritual leader of our church group. They're now talking to the family. And to the best of my knowledge, the time and date of her funeral have changed at least 3 times, moved by a week in different directions.
Wow.
Um, and so, I so desperately want to go to her funeral. Um, but I have plans for the next 2 weeks. And so I'm not, so if the funeral happens on a weekday, I'm not just not available. It's not that it's inconvenient. It's that I'm not in the state. And so I've had to let go of my attachment to, well, it has to be on this time. It has to be on this date because A, it keeps changing. B, I have no ability or no willingness to change my current schedule because my aunt passed away rather suddenly. And the other thing is, my aunt doesn't care. She does not care when the funeral takes place. She has been taken out of this 3D reality and she's been taken back to a place where time does not matter. So, is it this Tuesday or next Thursday or a month from now? Doesn't really matter to
Mm.
her.
Well, I think you bring us back to a very important question, and all those topics and feelings that are gonna stem out of such an event, because that's something every family goes through. And more, because now we live in a globalized world where people don't live at one place anymore. The whole family at one place. That's, I was about to say, like 90s centuries. Uh, yeah, it's another era. And so it's more and more difficult. And at the same time, that question about, when you're dead, you're not actually here anymore, and that, that world doesn't really count anymore, and you can just fathom the idea that you can connect to someone even though they're not really in this world anymore. It raises a lot of questions, but many people are not ready to hear that. They don't want to hear that. And then all those feelings you're going through, what's the most powerful feeling you've experienced in the past few days or when this occurred?
A release of my need to be present for everything, to control everything. And I think the biggest feeling that I've had is this feeling of calm and allow. My uncles and my mother, they're fine. They're okay. They're doing the best that they can to organize a very difficult event in their lives. They are working so hard, and I'm just going to allow them to do their job. I am not going to fight with them. I'm not going to argue with them. I'm not going to demand on them because they're struggling right now. They're doing the best that they can. Why do I need to add to it with my demands and my have tos? And and I know that it will all work out. I know that it doesn't ultimately matter if I get to sing a solo or give a talk or pray over the grave before her mortal remains are placed into the grave. No, I'll, if I can't be here, I will go visit the grave site when I get home, and it'll be
Oh,
okay.
and do you really need to visit the grave because her soul is not there anymore. You can just connect to her soul. So that's also I had a
Mhm.
funny thought when you were talking, like how convenient would it be if that would have been programmed or scheduled? You know, that's how crazy things are. And yeah, because that world has become so intense and we're busy all the time. We have things to do. And we cannot be disturbed anymore because it feels like, and actually life and death happening, should remind us about life, and we don't even have time for that anymore,
Mhm.
you know?
Well,
Mm.
and part of the reason that I know I'm going to go visit her grave is because I find cemeteries very relaxing. And let's
Oh,
face it, Delphine, funerals are for the living. They're not for the dead.
that's very true. I never thought about this. Mm-hmm.
I mean, her mind has expanded because she's no longer stuck in a meat suit. Um, she can now, she knows what I'm thinking, what I'm doing. She doesn't need to schedule anything. And I don't, but I, who am still stuck in my meat shirt, still need to go to a place in order to calm down, relax, and allow myself to feel, you know, the Holy Spirit, God, Source, her. I still need to go to that place because it allows me to get into that frequency.
And when was the first time you started to see things like this or to think that way that, I mean, about death? Because, it's not what we're taught and nobody really talks about this. So when did you, yeah, realize that aspect of things?
So death is a big conversation in my church growing up. We're all going to die, but Jesus has taken the sting out of death. But then I've watched some family members get ready for death, and they're absolutely terrified because they've said those things a lot, but they don't necessarily believe them. And in fact, some members of the family that I've been semi close to around death, I began to realize that the talk about sin and repentance and forgiveness and hell and punishment is so strong, so big that often um, people aren't dying at peace. They're not allowing the sting to be taken out of death. They don't believe that Jesus is actually going to make everything okay. They don't believe that they're going back to a loving Heavenly Father or a loving God or source energy that wants to support them. They've bought into the whole hell and damnation and sin in the least degree, and you're going straight to the burning eternal pit where you're going to be tortured. And
So,
I'll be honest, it's been personal development that has taught me that the universe is a lot more kind than we give it credit for.
yeah, and it's also so it's experience because what you were describing, it's like people are taught some stories in religions or even, yeah, in different traditions, they have stories about death. And so there are stories that you really believe in because you've experienced something, and then you realize well, you if you have faith or not, be it in all type of stories, when you actually are in the moment, the situation just before, because generally people apparently they feel it before they pass over, before they transition. And so it's like not doomsday, because it's no, it's that moment where you see where you're at actually. And but
Yeah.
did you experience something in your reality, in your sensations, knowing that, oh, but I was taught that, but from what I experienced, I don't know, dreams, situations, feelings in your body, was there
No, I
something?
did read a lot of books about near-death experiences. And, all of those books, all of the articles, all of the people who've actually experienced it, they all come back saying, yeah, I want to go back. This is kind of cool. And that flew directly in the face of hell and damnation. You're gonna burn. Judgment is coming. It None of them ever said, yeah, no, I'm scared to death. I don't want to die. I never want to leave this life because um when the angels came, I didn't really like it. No, they felt very at peace. They felt very loved. They felt supported. They felt like they had a choice.
Mm, yes, they were all telling the same things actually, and it made sense. And this is actually
Yeah.
how science works, because you have experiences and you've tried it over and over again, and you see if the results are the same.
Hmm.
And apparently, it seems that many people tell the same stories. And yeah, I guess, of course, that personal development is a step on that journey. And then personally, it's when I I saw, I think, documentaries with testimonies with people too, about those children too, that talked about things they could not possibly know, and that was actually from a past life. And then the parents were so annoyed too. They supported their child, and they just dug into the past, and they found people and witnesses that experienced, well, the situations that the child described. So, and that was really puzzling. And also, I actually started to have, dreams and things like this that really showed me that, yeah, I got things that I never could have had. No, no, I couldn't know them, and I got them here. So there must be something, you know?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I I firmly believe that there is much more to this life than any one book or any one religion can possibly get right. I believe, and I had to let go. I had to let go of the religion of my childhood
My
so
bad.
that I could accept other possibilities. Um, and in fact, that I think was one of the big that was also a big thing, is accepting that religion, any religion, in its own way, shape, and form, is helping people develop personally. Therefore, religion is just another personal development plan. And when you look at it that way, you begin to see, oh my goodness. And if you love Neville Goddard, if you love Joseph Murphy, if you love Thomas Troward, Bob Proctor, Lewis Howe, you name it, whoever's out there, Brendan Bouchard, uh, Jen Sincero, anybody who's written a book, They have a plan that worked for them. And they want you to buy into that plan so that you will pay them. And by paying them, you improve and you increase, and so do they. Religion is the same way. You buy into your pastor or your priest or your church, and you improve because you're giving, because you're following a plan that feels good, and they improve because they now have the funds to be able to continue their programs. It's great. It works. But when you realize most of religion is business.
This is what I noticed, and especially when Bob Proctor talks about what he does, he often says, "But that's written in the Bible." And most, well, in the world of personal development, most things are also, yeah, they're written in the Bible. But then ask yourself, who writes the books in general? You know, you have, where does inspiration come from? And
Mhm.
where does the knowledge come from? And you cannot just reduce it to the books, actually. And you have to see the spirit that's behind this, or whatever you want to call it. And but you're right, it's doing exactly the same thing. And at some point, I think last time we were live, you were talking about influence. And it's because you buy into it, you connect to something because you
Mhm.
feel it as truth. You feel it as a guidance, something that works for you, and so you do it. So it's all about you
Mhm.
actually and what connects best with who you are, what you think you are at the time.
Yeah. Yeah. So there was this author, Edwene Gaines. She was she's another personal development, but she's firmly in the religious camp. And she teaches the same things and gives the same messages. I really like what she said, and this was a pivotal moment for me. Take your tithe, your 10%, and give it to the people who spiritually enlighten you, the place where you get your spiritual nourishment. And I had never thought of that because, of course, my church teaches me you take your 10% and you give it to us. I don't care where else you're getting a spiritual nourishment. This is a business, therefore you pay us. And I realized, oh my goodness, that's just membership dues. It's like paying Costco a yearly fee so that you can shop here. This church was asking for a membership fee so that I could have access to worldwide resources, lots of books and other stuff. And I suddenly realized, but wait a minute, I'm not getting my spiritual nourishment from this church anymore. I was for a long time, but now I'm not. So I actually started just randomly sending money to the people who I actually felt nourished from. And it was a lot of fun.
And because you put the priority somewhere else, and the priority was you, it was not, I mean, someone else. And this is one of the things that you start doing when you start awakening or when you want to change the way you live your life. The priority becomes you. And this is where then time is also, you know, time, money is time put in you. I don't know how to say that. Um,
It's
maybe you
an
can rephrase.
energy. Yeah, it's just an energy. It's a vote. And quite frankly, that's another thing that I learned is that time is a vote. Money is a vote. What's important? are my kids more important than a football game? Is the football game more important than my relationship with my wife? You know, okay, I'm voting on what's most important to me with both my money and my time. And this is a thought that has kept coming through my head as we've had our conversation. And that is the reality that we live in right now is nothing more than the making solid, the making real of the thoughts we've had in the past. And therefore, if we want a different future, we have to have different thoughts and feelings now so that we can have those different thoughts and feelings in the future. And that goes through with well, I have this thought because I have this history of thinking this way. So I've got to get rid of thinking this way so that I can have a new thought, so that I can have a new future. And that's why I don't think you can schedule when your subconscious mind is finally going to accept the new thought.
Absolutely. And what if the subconscious mind, because recently I've read a lot about the subconscious mind and how it works, how it controls everything we do. And what if it actually is so powerful, it knows exactly, what you need to do and when, and you don't actually have to intervene so much because it's also the nervous system also plays a role in that,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's actually about soothing that nervous system. So with your thoughts, if you can soothe it, well, the thoughts will be better, you'll be more aligned, and it's going to be easier. And but right now, I think, because it made me think of a video I came across yesterday, and it was a person who clearly had a rage, an anger towards money, and every person, for example, but those, of course, coaches, they can charge pretty much money. And just like doctors, actually, like, teachers, everybody has a salary. But depending on where you're at regarding money, you're gonna also attract that certain level of money or not. But in France, it's really, I would say, we have a paradigm that is very biased, and money is not seen very positively, and because it's the root of all evil. And I was just reminded, for people, sometimes it can be, even though that person was really, she knows a lot, she has connected to many things, and I mean, spiritually, um, but you can still feel that. And I think this is very French. And I don't know how you change this, because at a whole culture level, you cannot. Yeah, what are your
No,
thoughts?
this
I
is
see
very
you.
Christian.
Yeah, that person is not a Christian for sure. But
Well, so here's the funny thing. My I was taught sexual information from a very puritanical point of view. Don't talk about it, don't do it. I'm not a Puritan, but it has influenced my culture so much that it doesn't matter if you're a Puritan or not, you're taught Puritanistic properties. And the love of money is the root of all evil. That is such a Christian philosophy that it's permeated the culture of Western European life.
yeah, that's true. That's our history. It's been Christian for a very long time, so you can still feel it. And yeah. Yeah, I remember, yeah, saying sometimes people say they're poor when actually in their lives, well, they're not really poor because they have everything I think they need to have, and even they're fulfilled, they have a job, they have everything, they have a roof, and but still I remember in my family hearing, "Oh, but we're poor." But hello, and I could see other families, that were really
Oh,
struggling, and it's all in the mind, you know?
that's how my family was. My dad told me that we were poor all of our lives. But I went to school. My mom did make my clothes, but I I think she enjoyed some of that. Um, all of our meals were home cooked. We entertained ourselves. Um, I drove everywhere that I wanted to go as a teenager without restriction. Um, I had basically all of the money that I could use as a teenager because I had a job, but we were always poor. We were poor. I was told we were poor. And I'm like, but it took me going back as an adult and basically within the last 5 to 10 years, my older sister and I finally got together and we were talking to each other about a personal development book. And she said, Neil, I don't think we were poor. I really don't. We had everything we wanted. I mean,
Yes,
we were
yeah,
told we were poor, but we actually weren't.
just like we're taught we're not really powerful. You cannot change things like this, nobody, yeah, don't dream too big. It's just you've been programmed to think a certain way. And in families and cultures, you have a certain programming, and it can take years to realize that.
Well, and going back to the theme of this topic, one of the things that we're taught is I don't have enough time. You have as much time as you need. I mean, you have as much time as anybody else. The question is, what are you going to do with that time? You have the same availability to money and resources as anybody who has achieved world-altering effects.
I
The,
think sorry about, the time and actually time management. We think we don't have time, but even the sentence "we don't have time," it's because we don't have the energy, we don't have the inspiration, and it's about the feelings actually.
yes, yes. It's not that we lack the time, it's that we lack the inspiration, the desire, the drive. That's why I think deciding what it is you want and then going for it, set a date out in the future, do that. That's a great idea. But don't hold so tight to that date that when you approach it and you don't have your new house, you haven't started your new business, you give yourself the leeway to say, okay, so what's blocking me here? Why haven't I made the progress that I want to? Maybe I need to engage a coach or a therapist or somebody to help me overcome a block that is in my life. Because otherwise, you're going to spend a lot more energy and you're going to accomplish a lot less.
And this is exactly why I always start my lessons with like methodology course that helps you understand how you learn something, and of course a language. And because if you're not aware of how you feel about learning that new thing, be it a language, being a new topic, a new, something you really want to be good at, if you have that fear, if you have a blockage you're not even aware of, well, you're going to spend hours sometimes, or you will not manage to actually spend hours on it because you're not really feeling good. And I don't know how many students, I could feel that they're taking those lessons because in France, for example, it's affordable or there are some free options. But when it's free, you don't really see the value of what you're learning, and you're not as invested as you would be if you really connected to what you want and to that new skill you want to acquire. And it's so important for, well, to manage your time or just to have energy, just know why you're doing things, connect, why are you connecting or not, and based on that, it will be
Yeah.
easier.
I think one of the next topics that we go into, and unfortunately the time has come, is goals. Is this my goal or is this somebody else's goal? Because you're absolutely right. If it's somebody else's goal, you're never going to spend the time that you need to in order to make it work. There will always be something that comes up. There will always be a blockage. There will always be a challenge.
This is why everything comes back to know who you are, because if you know who you are, you know what you're attracted to and what you will do will feel like you. And when you're in that energy, in that vibe, you don't have issues with time actually.
Yeah, time actually bends to your will when you're having fun.
Yeah, and the funniest thing is, for example, when you have, because that's when you have goals, and even in your job, things like this, well, you always have emergencies, unexpected things happening. And what's
Yeah.
funny, that's I'm talking from experience, is, oh my gosh, I will have to reschedule that person because of this. And well, actually, that person is, oh, thank you so much, Delphine, because I also had an appointment, and everybody will be, it will, if you need
Yep.
to cancel, cancel, because it's probably be a good thing for someone else too. This is when you realize that everything is just working together. And you see? But
Oh yeah.
we're taught that you have to respect your hours, go to your job from 9 to 5, but and it feels so tight now.
Yeah. And so you can begin to question, is that really true? Okay. Well, thank
Yeah,
you, Delphine. I
thank
appreciate
you,
you
Neil.
so much.
Well, let's try this again sometime when the time is right. As always, we don't know when.
Yes.
So just let me get my. All right. Well, everybody have a good day.